I'm Michelle from the Starling Tribune, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network. Just like the show you're listening to now, the opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're passionate.
As a Canadian, I will say that more than likely, I'm just going to get screwed another way. That's the way it always works.
They're knowledgeable.
Maybe that's where life began, on MU69. We don't know.
And sometimes they're a bit angry.
Skype, I'm breaking up with you. It's not me, it's totally you.
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Hello and welcome to episode 216 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. My name is Stephen John Drew, and with me, of course, is the Chris of the show, Chris Farrell.
That's me!
We also have the SP of the show, for now, Stargate Pioneer.
I want to be the Chris of the show. Come on, can I be the Chris of the show? I want to be the Chris of the show.
Sure, why not? I got no problem with it.
So who do I get to be then?
You're the new JS.
I need a bird. Give me 30 seconds to find a bird sound effect loaded on my soundboard. We're good.
Yes, we are here with the official GonnaGeek.com show, and today we're going to run down a bunch of crazy topics in the world of geek. We've got tech stuff. We have sci-fi. Not really. We have game stuff, but we have sci-fi, but real stuff. So what is science fiction?
My head hurts. It hurts so bad now.
Anyways,
it's called fantasy. It's called Star Wars.
Star Wars? Well, we're not really talking about Star Wars. And then we also have a fun little countdown that came from Time Magazine. So that's a lot of fun we have happening. And guess what? I got good news for myself this week, and we're going to talk about that. Now, before we get there, I just want to take a moment to let you know that we are part of the Gonna Geek Network. The Gonna Geek Network is an awesome series of podcasts that you can find over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. We have a variety of different geeky content there, and you should check out some of them, including Better Podcasting. In the latest episode of Better Podcasting, episode 106, Steven and Stargate Pioneer run down how you can handle the holidays if you got yourself a podcast and are fighting for time. Check that out at GonnaGeekNetwork.com, and make sure you do write those people, because I know that lately they've been getting a lot of fan feedback that has just been saying how awesome Steven is, and Stargate Pioneer is just a little bit upset. So you should definitely write that show, because I know that SP guy, he's upset because everybody likes Steven.
Don't make SP angry. Just don't make SP angry. You know, my name is Chris, and I'm saying I know SP, and don't make him angry.
Check that out, as well as all the other shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. But let's go ahead and roll into the news. Chris, our chat room has saved you. The chat room, Albert Sims, has said that Chris can be the fake Suncast.
Well, that's doable because I already get angry at Comcast on a regular basis. So I feel like I can channel John properly in that regard. Sorry, John. I didn't mean to pick at a wound.
Oh, if you actually talk to Suncast, make sure that you do tell him that you want to hear about his pain and that you're sorry about his pain, because a guy like Suncast should not be in the situation that he is, fighting to try to get internet service. Yeah, that's not an exaggeration. So definitely tweet him at Suncast on the Twitter.
And if you really want to help him, tweet, "Hey, at Xfinity, give Suncast his internet."
Yeah, that would be a good. We should start that movement. What's the hashtag? Let's make a hashtag for it.
Free Suncast 2017.
I like that. Hashtag Free Suncast 2017. Because we're assuming we're going to have to free him in the future again.
Probably.
All right, so let's start off with a follow-up to last week's news. Last week, the one and only Chris Farrell told you about how Battlefront 2 had a bit of black eye. Now, there has been an update, so this is the sequel to last week's news.
That's right, and I am the French-Canadian sensation, one Dr. JS, who is filling in for Chris this week to talk about that story. Because remember, I'm the new JS/Suncast, so I've got multiple hats to wear, and it's really messing with my head. But remember, last week on the GoodGeek.com show, we talked about the Battlefront 2 saga, the drama that had revolved around the concept of their microtransactions and their loot boxes. It had come out that it basically was going to take 40 hours to unlock some of the characters, such as Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in-game. But hey, right as we went to go and record things, they announced that we're going to yank all of the microtransactions out of the game. Originally, we were talking about a 75% cut. No, we're yanking the microtransaction loot crate system out of the game completely. That is a huge leap to make, especially considering how widely unpopular they were becoming because of this. Because remember, they had the most downvoted Reddit comment in the history of Reddit in regards to being like, we believe that it's the experience and the achievement of unlocking these characters that means something to you, something to that effect.
Okay, so fill me in on this, because I'm not a big microtransaction guy, and maybe this is just a dumb question, but if they're removing all of them, then doesn't that mean that there's no option anymore for that, and now you have to fight through it all?
So now you don't have the option to pay cash to unlock loot boxes and microtransactions in-game. You only earn in-game money by playing the game. There's no option for me to say it's a pay-to-win approach. I take my credit card out, I drop $100 down and get a bunch of loot boxes. That is yanked out for now. Here's where it gets interesting. And it becomes kind of a he said, she said kind of thing. And here it'll be interesting. Let's talk about this. So Lucasfilm gave a statement to the Washington Post regarding EA's decision to withdraw temporarily the ability to spend money in game. According to Lucasfilm, they said Star Wars has always been about the fans, and whether it's Battlefront or any other Star Wars experience, they come first. That's why we support EA's decision to temporarily remove in-game payments to address fans' concerns. That's awesome. That's great. They're working together with their partner who they licensed the Star Wars stuff out to. Yeah, it might not have been EA's decision, actually. There's slightly conflicting reports here, but VentureBeat reports that Disney gave a late-night phone call to EA from, Disney CEO Bob Iger, who called directly Andrew Wilson, who heads up Electronic Arts, to say, yank these microtransactions. The Washington Post also said there might have been a phone call that came from a Disney exec by the name of Jimmy Pitaro on behalf of the top brass, where they stated on Thursday, Jimmy Pitaro, chairman of Disney Consumer Products and Interactive Media Division, made a call to EA hours before the decision was made to pull in-game purchases. The Wall Street Journal reported this call was to express Disney executives' unhappiness at how the outrage, quote, reflected on their marquee property. So Disney not very happy about the fact that they licensed out Star Wars to these guys. And there's this huge kerfuffle, for lack of a better term, on the internet as people are getting a little butthurt over things. Go ahead, SP. What do you got?
They admitted that Star Wars is their marquee property over everything else that they own. Star Wars is the marquee property.
Well, especially when it comes to licensing, I would argue that they are correct, because Star Wars is licensed in everywhere. You don't see a lot of officially licensed Marvel video games and things like that at the moment. Not to say they won't come at some point in time.
Okay, just making that clear. Disney is putting all their eggs in the Star Wars marquee basket.
At least in the short term.
And that's a really good point there, SP. Like, I didn't even pick up on that when he said that, but I think that that's actually a really big piece of news for them to admit to that.
And we're just getting to the drama, guys. Remember how I said there's a he said, she said kind of thing going on? Well, there were various Reddit threads, and I have not been able to source them properly yet, but there were a few different that reported that the microtransactions that unlock content in-game, aside from just like skins and weapon tweaks and things like that, but the ability to pay money to unlock characters by buying loot crates, might have actually been Lucasfilm/Disney's idea originally. Now, like I said, I haven't been able to go and accurately source these things. I saw it on Reddit. I tried tracking it down the rabbit hole, and it was a little shady, some of the places I went. So I tend not to believe it, But imagine if that's the case, that now they're both like, no, you did this. No, I didn't do this. You did this. And they're just kind of throwing the blame around to try and deflect. I almost hope it's real just for the hilarity of it.
I gotta say, I don't agree with this decision. I think, I am not a microtransaction guy, but the appeal to microtransactions is that if you don't want to spend the amount of time that the company has deemed you need to spend, then you have an alternative. And obviously you have to have money to do that. But just like any other, hobby or thing like that, you're going to probably put money into it. So I don't understand why they're pulling this alternative option. I think that there was a good move of them to say, if you don't want to pay money, we're reducing the amount of time, but also leave the microtransaction option. It's mind-blowing to me.
Because it's a pay to win approach, basically, like I talked about last week. There's things that unlock in these loot crates, like auto aim adjusts and things like that. No, that's not cool. That is a pay to win approach. That's I pay my $60 for the game, and because I have a bigger disposable income than person X sitting next to me, I drop another $100 on the game, and on day one it drops. I'm kitted out better than everyone else, and I go on a rampage in multiplayer, and it's completely unfair, and it turns people off of the game who have to fight against those kind of folks.
Well, let's be clear. If I was actually going to do these microtransactions, they weren't micro, they were like $20 a pop. But if I were to do that to be competitive with John Sebastian up there, I would have had to have spent at least $1,000 US, not Canadian, US, in order to get anywhere close to be competitive to him.
Okay, so I agree when you're putting in the microtransactions and you're adding extra features that you can't get elsewise. Like, yes, okay, I understand why that is a pay to win strategy, but to me, the problem obviously was with what the microtransactions gave you. What should have happened is they should have came in and they should have said, these are the options. This is what we do is we reduce those microtransactions and we make them just bump you ahead in gameplay, right? Rather than giving full new things and things that you can't get just by playing. So I totally see what you're saying as far as that part goes, but to me, it's just, it's bizarre.
Perhaps, and let's be honest, part of why they're getting so much crap is it's Electronic Arts. Electronic Arts gets beat up, not always fairly, about some of their decisions when it comes to games, but they have, and I mentioned this last week, made a concerted effort to start putting multiplayer and things like that in games that encourage people to buy into this loot crate microtransaction system. So there are folks like myself, I'd been on the fence about Star Wars Battlefront 2. I played the open beta and I went, okay, this is kind of fun, but I got my first taste of the loot crate stuff. And I wasn't getting any good draws out of the loot crate. And I went, this is a bad sign for me. I said, there's enough other games out there right now. I'm going to hold off. And it's quite possible there are other people that have done that. Maybe. So here's the second half of that story real quick. Eurogamer had a report that Star Wars Battlefront 2 has launched with 60% fewer physical sales than Battlefront 1, which came out about 2 years ago. So it gets a little tricky here. It's impossible to know what extent the pre-launch issues, i.e. the loot crates and things like that, impacted sales, but it is kind of telling we had a 60% drop, but at the same time, it might be a bit of a false flag because compare now to 2 years ago, there are a lot more gamers who have said, you know what? I'm not buying disc versions of games anymore. I'm not going to GameStop, to Walmart, to Best Buy. I'm going to go on Xbox Live or the PlayStation Marketplace, and I'm going to pre-order the game for $60, and it's just going to show up and be playable at 12:01 a.m. So I'm not sure if this news is more than just trying to pile on the fact that they had issues and trying to attribute a drop to that, which might not be that much of a drop once you factor in digital sales. Now, does a digital sale, or all of the digital sales rather, make up that 60% gap between the physical releases of the two games? Maybe. I wager it's probably pretty close, because I know for a fact, I've got friends, Willie Nelson, who's on the All Things Good and Nerdy podcast with Chris Farrell, who I am not, by the way, has said, I am no longer buying physical games because he's had his PlayStation stolen and all of his games stolen before. So now if that happens, all he does is buy a new PlayStation and log back into his account, and it downloads all of his games directly to that PlayStation. So there's real benefit to that. And especially when you're talking a new release game, most of those games are coming out the same price almost everywhere. So you might as well buy it digitally.
I got kids myself. And so that is something that I have had kids break a game. So I totally think that you're right about the digital. There are major benefits to that.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a false flag, and I think that they're kind of unfairly piling on EA with this one by saying, oh, sales are down. They might not be when you factor in the digital sales, and that's probably going to take a little while longer to get, because honestly, there's a lot of stuff I just buy digitally now, especially with all the sales they do around Black Friday and things like that. There's ridiculous game deals, and I never have to worry about a disc again in my life with it.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, I have owned Battlefront since the beginning. Matter of fact, I bought the PS4 Battlefront edition, with the Darth Vader on it, just because I wanted to be cool and have a marquee console with it. I never made it past the training rounds in Battlefront on either Xbox or PS4.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. Was that due to time or is that due to skill?
Probably both. I mean, the one that I got hung up on was the one where you're taking the snow speeders around the walkers. That one I had problems with, but if I would have put more time into it, I would have eventually gotten it. But I'm just pointing out, microtransactions would have helped this dude, hopefully.
Well, maybe they'll bring them back for you. All right, so speaking of bringing things back, I heard that SP is leading the charge to bring back the flat Earth.
Oh no, I'm not leading anything in terms of this. There's a whole bunch of crazy out there that's leading the charge on this. Matter of fact, there's a whole bunch of crazy out there enough that they actually had a conference. Yes, the Flat Earthers had a first conference in, guess what, North Carolina. I'm guessing Willie was at that.
I bet it was sponsored by SNASA, wasn't it?
Oh no, SNASA wouldn't be.
I bet it was.
I mean, maybe some information out there, but I don't know. Anyway, in an article by Stephanie Papas on Live Science on November 17, 2017, she wrote and said, a conference aimed at disputing the idea that the world is round just wrapped up in North Carolina. The first ever Flat Earth International Conference was held in Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, I'm proud of our North Carolinas on November 9th and 10th, featuring some of the big names, and there are big names in round Earth denial. Among the speakers were Dara Marble, who once took a level on a plane to prove the Earth does not curve. Mark Sargent, the creator of the Flat Earth Clues YouTube series, and I've actually watched some of his stuff, by the way, who believes all life is enclosed in a Truman Show-like dome structure. And Duran Capanella, a YouTube and online radio personality who makes Flat Earth 9/11, Truther, and other conspiracy theory videos. There are more, by the way. I've been to this website. It's fe2017.com. It's hilarious. The conference was hosted by Cryptops Media, which produces DVDs and other media, arguing that scientism, quote unquote scientism, is an agenda designed to keep people from God. And the Creation Cosmology Institute, an organization with little online footprint except a now deleted YouTube channel. Now, the conference features talks such as, quote, NASA and other space lies, unquote, and, quote, a flat Earth with the scientific method, unquote. Get this, waking up to mainstream science lies and testing the globe. So the conference organizer, which is Cryptops Media's Robbie Davidson, is a Christian creationist and a philosophy merged in sessions such as Flat Earth and the Bible and exposing scientism, the latter of which decried evolution and the Big Bang theory of the universe's origins. Recently, Flat Earth believers and Raptor BOB tried to crowdfund a $1 million via GoFundMe to launch a satellite to see if he could detect for himself the curvature of the Earth. Now, wait a minute. Does he not understand that you have to launch a satellite into orbit, which basically means the Earth is curved? I don't understand that. So GoFundMe temporarily froze the donation account, but it's now back online, and as the article on November 17th has raised $6,842 from 222 disillusioned people. No one knows how many people really subscribe to this flat Earth beliefs, but the Flat Earth Society, which is the oldest organization devoted to this belief, claims 555 members. And then Marvel himself boasts 22,954 subscribers to his YouTube channel. About 500 people attended the conference in Raleigh. And guess what? Wait, they're not done. There's more. The next Flat Earth International Conference will be held in Denver from November 15th through 16th in 2018. And they expect 1,500 believers.
I'm a
That's so many people.
I just can't even.
You know what this is proof of? This is proof that conferences just are there to make money, because there's no way that this many people would show up at a conference because they believe it. They're just showing up to find out if this is true or not, to see the crazies there, and the conference organizer gets to make money off of it. That's the YouTube channels. That's what they're all there for. Just to make money. I can't believe these guys.
You know, we need another Buzz Aldrin event. You remember how Buzz Aldrin punched that guy for saying that the moon landing was fake? Can we get another astronaut to do that with a flat earther?
So, by the way, their concept of the flat Earth is the Earth is just this round disc surrounded by an ice wall or an ice dome. That's it. So you go to the end of the Earth and you hit some ice. That's what it is. I mean, I think these people went to go see Thor Ragnarok and they're like, that's totally it.
That's gotta be it.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and say right now that I am not a flat earther, but I actually really enjoy watching the flat earth videos. They're really hilarious to me. They're absolutely horrible. They're terrible, but I actually secretly do enjoy watching them.
That's because he's actually a flat earther. The denial rings false to me.
You know, you used to travel a lot for work, Steven. Did you bring a level onto the plane?
You know, I only heard about this like a month and a half ago about the level thing, and the level thing was just, it falls apart on so many levels, especially so many levels. That was not intentional by any means, but especially when you end up taking a look at and the video cuts out halfway. You're just like, oh, buddy, come on. All right, well, if you are a flat earther, we want you to get in touch with Stargate Pioneer by emailing stargatepioneer@gonnageek.com and tell him why the Earth is flat.
That's Chris.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm Chris, man. So it's Chris@gonnageek.com.
For all you not live viewers, you should definitely check us out every Monday at 8:45 p.m. Eastern time, because you're missing out on all sorts of hilarity in the chat room right now, such as our listener Albert Sims, who says, at my age, I'm a, quote, fat earther. Okay, so let me ask you this. Why is it that these sort of things can't get shut down permanently?
Because it's fake news.
Freedom of speech, I guess.
That's
even
really
though
what
it's
it is, yeah.
completely wrong.
You're allowed to believe whatever you want, even if it's freaking stupid.
But you kind of hit it on the head that they're essentially a scam.
Well, no, some of these people truly believe it.
I guess, yeah. I guess. I should just not try to look into it this much, but crazy and SP, I look forward to you debriefing on here when you attend.
No way. I am going to Colorado for this. No, not going to do it. Colorado, y'all have fun with them North Carolinas up there.
Guys, I do like Colorado, so if you want to send me on the official Gonna Geek travel budget, I will report in live from this conference.
We know why you like Colorado. We're on to you.
That would be hilarious. If we did the first ever live GonnaGeek.com show, all three of us together from this conference.
Oh, that would...
Let me recreate what it's going to be like. Well, these guys are freaking stupid. At least I'm in Colorado. Back to you guys in studio.
Can we go to the ski slopes?
We're definitely getting hate mail for this one. Next up on the news,
send it to js@gonnageek.com. And JS gets all of our hate mail. That's JS
Still today, he
at
does.
gonnageek.com.
JS@gonnageek.com.
All right, so next up in the news, we're going to talk about Time Magazine's top 10 gadgets of 2017. That's right. Time Magazine did put out their list of the top gadgets of 2017. And I'll just blow through the list before we get to what was the number one, which, if history repeats itself, is going to be an iPhone, right? So number 10 was the Sony Alpha A7R 3 camera. There was at number 9, Apple Watch 3. At number 8, we had the Xbox One X, or also known as the Xbox One X. Number 7 was the Amazon Echo 2nd generation. That was the full version. Number 6 was the SNES Classic. That is the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic. Number 5 was the Samsung Galaxy S8. You'll notice that is not the Note 8. No, it was the S8. Number 4 was the DJI Spark palm-sized drone. Number 3 was, interestingly, the Microsoft Surface laptop. This is the first ever laptop that Microsoft has done. Not a laptop-tablet combo, but this was the first ever Microsoft-branded laptop. And now we get to number 2 and number 1. Number 2 was the iPhone X. That's right, they did not get the number 1 slot. What did get the number 1 slot was a device that we actually got a hands-on review on this very show before it was ever released. Our very own Chris Farrell, who'll be back next week, he had a chance to put it in his hands, feel it. No actual software was loaded. It was the Nintendo Switch. That's right, the Nintendo Switch got the number 1 spot of the top 10 gadgets of 2017 by Time Magazine.
Just amazing. And I'm shocked that the iPhone 8 Plus isn't on there.
I guess because it's probably it's not really anything new. And it's not a shot against the iPhone 8 Plus or anything like that, but it's not anything new. That's probably why it's not on the list.
No, absolutely. It's not. I said it before. It might as well be an iPhone 6 Plus or a 6 Plus SSS. Yeah, I agree with that. However, the Pixel XL2 is not on there either, or the Pixel 2 isn't on there. And that's a dang good phone. Matter of fact, my boss just bought one and he was saying how much of a great thing it was. And he was like, oh, really? It's got the best camera out there? And I was like, yeah, best camera on the market. He's
yeah,
like,
how bad is Blue Shift, though?
I'll ask him. I didn't ask him that. I'll ask him that
they
tomorrow.
have huge quality control issues when it comes to those screens. So some people get lucky. Other people are, you barely tilt the phone, it looks like it's blue.
Yeah. But putting that aside, what do we think about the actual Switch being number 1? Because we talked about it early on that the Switch didn't get the reception that they originally anticipated. Now, obviously, it's sold out and it was popular, but the launch during the initial announcement after that first unveiling, there was a whole bunch of backlash. And so
No, there wasn't.
yeah, you came on the show, you watched the keynote and you're like, wow, this is a disappointment.
I'm looking at this list and the Switch is really the only revolutionary thing on there. Everything else is based on something else. The Switch is new. Yes, handheld gaming and console gaming have been around for a while, but this is different. This has taken things to a new level, and I can understand why it's number 1 here, because everything else is just a rerun.
No, I totally agree. I 100% agree.
It changed the game. Like SP said, there's been console gaming, there's been handheld. This is the merging of those. This is, I can have The Legend of Zelda, and I can have it on my TV, and I can go, oh, I got to go to the movie theater. Oh, I got to go meet my friends. I'm going to go catch the bus. And I can pick up that Switch and keep playing the exact same experiences I had on the big screen. It's redefining what makes a mobile game, I think, in a lot of cases. And they put some really strong games out there. They've got the Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8, which might be a reissue, but they've had solid games come out, and they also have good third-party support coming out. Like Wolfenstein's coming to it. Doom just came out to it. Rocket League is on there. The Switch it's kind of kicking butt right now, guys. And like SP said, you go and look at this list. Everything else is like a Gen 2 or higher of a currently existing product. The Switch is the big chance. And now you're going to see a lot of people probably trying to replicate that same success of, well, you like to play your games at home, eh? Well, take them with you and have the exact same experience. And say what you want, when Nintendo's on, it's very hard to replicate their success. And Nintendo appears to be on in this case.
No, I totally agree. And I'm glad to see it's number one when we compare it to some of the other things on the list. But I will say that I actually don't believe that the Super Nintendo Classic should have been on this list, because it was hot, it was popular, but it was popular because of the Nintendo factor, right? You know, if it was
that's also why the iPhone and the iWatch are on there too. The Apple Watch should not be on that top 10 list either.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I guess the difference is I have an SNES Classic, right? So I feel like I'm not poo-pooing something that I don't have.
The 3 is a next generation step up as far as the watch. We all knew the first generation, it was cool because it was Apple, but it was really limited in functionality. The 3 has really stepped up. So I can see that. I mean, for a watch, it's on there, but
the LTE that doesn't work is great.
Well, it's fair enough.
I mean,
the iPhone X is on there and it doesn't work properly either.
Yeah, especially at like 45-degree temperature I was reading today, but that's a different show. We can talk about
Digital Soup has a whole thing over the fact that they were outside and they were having problems with it too. So, but of course they're in Minnesota when it's like minus 600 degrees Celsius.
Ain't that the truth? So honestly, the way wearable technology is and things like that, I don't care whether it's the Apple Watch, Fitbits, Android Wear, anything like that. The state of wearable technology right now, there shouldn't be a wearable that's in the top 10. I'm sorry. That is in the top 10 because it's Apple. Not because of the merits of wearable technology.
Yeah, it's fair enough. If this was like 2-3 years ago, it'd be like, oh, cool, we finally get our Dick Tracy watch. Huh?
Right.
Okay.
The other one that's interesting to me to see in that list is the Amazon Echo being the second gen, because it didn't really add that much new. So I'm a little surprised that it's in the list. I am glad it's in the list because these things are really getting more and more popular in the last year. But it's weird to me to be in this list because all it is basically a refresh to more match the Google Home.
Well, I haven't played with it yet, but by all accounts, they put like a Dolby speaker in there. It's supposed to have, a better sound to it, in addition to making it very similar to Google Home so that you can mask it differently in your house, be it a fabric cover, a bamboo cover, a slate gray cover, things like that. Again, I probably agree with you. I don't know that I would have that high in my top 10 list, if in there at all. But you also have to remember smart home automation and digital assistants. It's big business right now. There's tons of interest in it. And these refreshes, be it the Google Home Mini, the Amazon Echo refresh, things like that, there's a lot of people that are interested in it. I mean, Amazon did their own keynote where all they did was talk about their Amazon Voice Services devices refresh.
Right.
And there was a lot of buzz. So
that's true.
We're slightly jaded because we're techies. We like to look at this stuff and play with it. I think if you went and talked to your regular person on the street now, there's probably a lot more awareness of these things. And you've got more people that are picking up digital assistants and are enjoying them and finding how they fit into it versus you and me, Steven, who are using them to control everything in our houses.
Well, remember the stats that I dug up earlier this year that said, what was it, 8 to 12% of the households actually had one of these things? Yes, they are the hot selling items, but not all homes have them. And also, don't forget, there's privacy concerns with these things that a lot of people are shying away from. Like they don't want Big Brother in their home. Well, I get that, but I like being able to tell her to play a certain playlist or turn on certain things. I do like that. I do enjoy that. I'm not as integrated in the smart home as you guys are, but I sure am integrated with the TV, and that is awesome integration that I don't have to find the remote where I have no idea where the last person put it. So I want the TV on, I can turn it on that way.
The thing is, those people that worry about the privacy and things like that, it's a valid concern, but they tend to forget they carry around a smartphone 9 times out of 10. A lot of people carry smartphones now. This has GPS in it. Google Location Services almost always knows where I am unless I explicitly disable it. They look at the Wi-Fi networks around me. Apple does the same thing. You're basically carrying a trackable phone in your pocket so you can be found wherever you are. It has microphones in it and cameras. So,
well, we discussed this earlier this year, and we were Steven was going to build himself a Faraday box. He was going to put the phone in the Faraday box, and that's way he wouldn't have to be tracked at all.
That's the room I'm in right now, the entire room.
Did you guys see that Kentucky Fried Chicken built a Faraday cage that you can buy?
No.
I didn't.
It's on The Verge. There is one of them. It is $10,000. It is a little tent-like Faraday cage with the Colonel on top of it, like hugging it, basically.
Does it have real life chickens on the inside?
It does not have chickens in the inside, no.
Okay. Well,
And
the
I'm
other
not
thing
joking. You can go to The Verge and find it right now.
Okay. The other thing you guys mentioned was the fact that Amazon had a keynote with just their devices. Nobody does that anymore. Even Tesla, when they have a keynote to bring out their new truck, oh, by the way, we've got the best sports car on the planet, too. They did the one more thing. Did you guys see that? The Tesla keynote?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our extra, where we'll just quickly touch on a couple of other topics in a little bit lesser discussion than we do the other topics. Number one in the extra news, we're going to talk about how NASA's new James Webb Space Telescope just got its first science targets, and hint, one of them is Stargate Pioneer.
So you guys didn't think I was going to get out of here without any space news at all. The flat Earth was fun, but here's some real space news. The James Webb Space Telescope, the one that's going to replace the Hubble, it actually has its first 13 scientific programs, and they were released last week. So if you want to go check them out, you can check out the article on these. It's awesome. They've got the first, I forget what it is, 4,600 or 460 hours of the Space Telescope's operations plan. So good for them. Then also, in another extra, X-Core Aerospace files for bankruptcy. Why is this important? Because they were going to have suborbital space flight. So they were the ones that were trying to figure out how to get you from point A to point B in like 30, 45 minutes, something like that. Other companies are doing that right now, but X-Core Aerospace, they have a cool little space plane concept. They've been working for 20 years on the lower levels, and they have 100 creditors right now. They had to file for bankruptcy, and that's it. That's it for X-Core. So we're going to have to rely on other people like Virgin Galactic and Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, in order to get us there.
Can I just ask you, is Z-Core going to come out?
Sure.
You know how usually somebody comes in and they buy their assets and then they just build the same company, but with a different name. Z-Core.
I hear they're going to be headquartered in the British Columbia area in
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Somewhere around an island near Vancouver.
There's one thing that I know how to do. It's how to be not financially responsible. All right, and finally in our extra news point, we're going to tell you a little bit about an awesome device called the iPhone X and their new feature called Face ID. We talked about this last week, actually. The iPhone 10 has that Face ID, and that some company made a sweet mask that could fool the iPhone X. It was awesome. It was only $150, and then the next day, guess what? A 10-year-old busted it instead. What happened was a 10-year-old took his mom's phone and unlocked the phone because apparently they just looked similar enough. Now, for those of you who are watching the video side of things, you will definitely see the two people from the video, and they demoed it in a YouTube video. Just look it up. They obviously do have similar facial features, but they obviously do not look identical by any means. But what is interesting to me, oh, and by the way, it was the mother's phone being unlocked by the son. What is really interesting to me is that Apple obviously admitted that the iPhone X could possibly, the iPhone 10 could be fooled by people who are similar looking, relations, twins, obviously, things like that. And to me, this is the big downfall of Face ID, because I mentioned this last week. I do not have government secrets on my phone. I don't have that. I have stuff that is my private personal information. So when I put a password on my phone, I am there using it to keep somebody specific out of it. Specific being, in my case, my kids from picking up my phone and randomly going through and deleting stuff. Specific in my case, being able to leave it on my desk as I walk away to the coffee maker at work to get a cup of coffee. Those are my specific reasons. If I am in a situation that the the Face ID is being tricked by one of those people, then it is no longer very secure for me. Now, the big thing about Face ID is that Face ID is mathematically more secure than Touch ID. Fair enough. But you have to think that those statistics are based off of the world. So mathematically, over the biggest, largest sample size that you can take, Face ID is more secure than Touch ID. However, this mother has just proven that in her house, it is significantly less secure for her use case, for her actual practical use case. There is no security versus Touch ID, which had lots of security. So it is ridiculous to me. And this is exactly why I was worried when I heard that they were moving Touch ID and just going all in on Face ID, because as soon as that visual is able to be tricked by a member who looks kind of similar or someone who possibly could be using that, then it's useless. It's really unlikely that your kid is going to be able to fool a fingerprint reader. So anyways, I had to rant.
Unless you have a kid that's interested in criminal forensics.
Fair enough. So I just had to rant about that. It's interesting. You should definitely look that up. I do definitely encourage people to check out that video because it's kind of creepy. Now, if you do look at the articles as well, I will say that they had her redo the Face ID in brighter conditions, and then he couldn't get in. Soon as she went and she did it back in sort of like I think it was darker conditions, but obviously it was however she first said it. So her regular living room or whatever, but it was not bright. It was a little bit darker. Then it re-let her son open. So very interesting to see. And I'm sure with time, Apple will get some of these holes solved.
By the way, in the chat, Albert posted a tweet from Comcast Cares. So his original tweet was Xfinity needs to make sure @Suncast has reliable internet at all times. # free Suncast 2017. Comcast Cares tweeted, "Hi Albert, I'd like to help you with your internet issues. Please send a DM with your full name, address, and phone number."
This is amazing.
Yes.
We make stuff happen on the GonnaGeek.com show, and this is one instance of it, thanks to a great listener by the name of Albert Sims, who followed our advice and reached out to Comcast on behalf of Suncast. Free Suncast 2017 happening live right now on YouTube.
And we look forward to reporting back next week as well. But let's go ahead and get to a interesting thing about how we, here on the GonnaGeek.com show, we changed the world last week. I love it when we change the world. Don't you two love it? It's amazing. We have a track record of this.
We just did. We're helping Suncast get internet right now on top of everything else.
I'm both happy and terrified.
I genuinely think that one of us needs to commit to listening to the past 216 episodes and document.
Not it.
I think Suncast should be it.
All right. Well, we need to do that and document all of the times we've talked about something only for the next day the world have changed. Last week, we talked a little bit about my inner debate as a Canadian who cannot get the Amazon voice service device. I can't get that in here. However, Google Home is available in Canada, and I made a commitment. And let's just go ahead and relive that commitment briefly. But I'm going to say this, that I am tired of waiting, and that it's about to be deal time happening again. And Google Home Mini is new, but I'm sure we're going to start to see some deals. And Christmas is my breaking point. If Christmas comes and goes without Amazon Echo being officially within Canada, I'm going to wait for the next deal and probably buy myself a Mini somewhere along the way, because I can't wait anymore. These devices are so helpful when you have home automation. And for me to be sitting there and waiting for the Amazon Echo to come to Canada and then continuously let me down, it might just win me over to Google. Okay, so that was last week. Now, here's the thing. As we mentioned, we record this on Mondays. And before we continue, I'm going to be fair to everybody. Mute your Amazon Voice Services devices right now because I'm about to say the keyword. Go ahead, do it right now. I'll give you a second. 1000, because we're going to say Alexa. So here's the thing. When we recorded that last week, it was true. There was no word of it. Woke up the next morning on the Tuesday, and what do you know? It was officially announced in Canada. The pre-orders hit, and they are live with a good deal. And today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how that has impacted me as a Canadian, because this is very exciting and very important news for me, who has kind of been only able to officially get the Google Home up in Canada. But now Alexa is coming. So we talked before about how with the exchange rate between US and Canada, things are obviously quite a bit more expensive in Canada. Well, this is awesome news for us Canadians who are thinking about getting an Amazon Alexa device. The pre-order price right now is putting it fairly in line with the dollars that we've heard non-sale prices of our neighbor south of the border. The Echo Dot, for example, is available pre-order at $49 and will be regular price at $69. Now, this is very intriguing to me because the Google Home is regularly priced. The Google Home Mini is regularly priced at $79. So even at regular price, they're coming in and cutting out or taking a bit of a cut below the Google Home price. So that's pretty neat. The Amazon Echo, the second edition, is pre-order price of $99 with a regular price of $129. And then the Echo Plus will be $169 at pre-order with the regular price at $199. There's also a package available at that same price that has a Philips bulb in it. So I guess that must be a pre-order package, which is pretty neat. Now, comparing back to the Google Home up in Canada runs regularly at $179. This is the full version. Now, I have actually seen that on sale quite a bit since it first launched, but I think probably for most Canadians, they're going to look at this. And while the Google Home is kind of thought to be in between the Echo and the Echo Plus, I think most Canadians are probably going to look at this and go, oh, wow, I can get an Echo for $129 rather than $179 Google Home. So again, I think Google or Amazon has priced this very well to try to take some of that Google Home market that they might be missing out on because they came second to Canada. Now, the other thing that happened when this pre-order announcement came out was that the app actually dropped on the Google Play Store as well as the Apple Store. This is something that I mentioned before. While I could have side-loaded the American app, I never did. So I never used the actual app because it was not available in the Canadian store. However, it is available now, and I loaded it up and immediately started using it because I was very interested to see all of these features that Chris actually just recently talked about on this show. And I will say that as a home gadget, home automation user, this app has the potential to really be a game changer. Chris, I think you sold it short when you talked about it, because once this thing is refined, it has so much potential to bridge a variety of different systems all from one app. That is one of the reasons why, as someone who uses a lot of home automation stuff, I have stuck with Wink compatible stuff, because I don't want to be in a situation that I have to go, oh, I got to turn on my front light. Which is that? Is that Wemo or is that Wink? Oh, I don't remember which that is. Which app am I pulling up? No. So if this actually is refined, then I can go ahead and just open up the Amazon Alexa app right from my phone and start using it. And all of my devices will be in there. In fact, I talked last week about those Wemo switches. I've got a couple of those in place right now because Steven is Clark Griswold, so he has some Christmas stuff up already. And I will say that the way that it's working right now, it is saving me a lot of headache, because I just go in and I've set up some routines, some schedules, some ons and some offs, all from the app. So it's controlling my Wink stuff as well as my Wemo stuff, which are not inherently compatible. So I have to say that this has real potential here to really aid home automation users. That alone is worthwhile buying an Echo Dot if it works properly, because for $49, you get a bridge between all of your services and it expands things. I looked up some wireless switches this past week that are only Echo compatible. They're not Wing compatible. They're not if this then that compatible. And I've got some that are available for like $20 Canadian, 20 to $30. That's fantastic, because that means that if this app works out and all of the quirks and everything are not really there and everything is working properly with the Amazon Echo, then I can go ahead and start buying some of these devices and use my Echo Dot as a bridge. So for $49, you're getting a steal of a deal. Now, I will say this, that as a user who did bring the Echo into Canada illegally, no, it wasn't actually illegal, but it was something that I did bring it up here without it being officially supported. I'm seeing some odd quirks right now. This is something that I got to try to work through. And my dad, who also did the same thing, was able to get over these. But long story short, I can't seem to get it to actually understand that I'm Canadian. Because every time I go to sign in and do an order, it essentially tells me that it can only order in its native language. And because I have it set to a Canadian language, which I'll talk about in a second, it is having troubles. It is basically thinking that I am American, and it's trying to order through Amazon.com. And I go into my device panel on Amazon.ca and Amazon.com, and I've deregistered them. I've gone and I've deregistered the device. I took it off of my phone as well, and I cleared out my account. And I re-registered, and again, it's taking me, it's looking at my account like I'm American. It's really odd. In fact, there's actually an alexa.amazon.ca, and if I go there and I sign into that, and immediately once it gets my credentials, forwards me over to sign into alexa.amazon.com. Again, I mentioned my dad has been experimenting with this, and he was able to get his account working. So I'm sure this is one of the things that if I call up Amazon, hopefully they'll be able to fix it. But it's something that's going to have to be worked out. I'm guessing somewhere in my profile on Amazon side, I'm just being looked at as American, which is really weird. But I mentioned the languages. We now, I think, have the reason why it took so long to officially come to Canada, because apparently us Canadians just speak so differently that they had to make an English Canada version. That's right. When you actually go into your Echo Dot settings, you now have the option, and I'm sure you, Chris and SP and Suncast and JS, all four of you probably have the option to switch over to the Canadian English, which apparently is so different. I wouldn't, because then you can't order anything. But
probably works great in Minnesota.
One of the weird things about that was I assumed that it was to do with the French, because in Canada, most of our stuff has to have a French requirement because we are a bilingual country. Yeah, there's no French language option. So maybe that's to come. Maybe that is to come. And then they're just like down to the wire for actual release day. This isn't, the pre-orders will be sent out December 5th. But yeah, there's an English Canada, and I gotta say, she actually sounds different. So I prepared 2 clips for you so you can hear the difference. So I've got a couple of things I've said to Alexa. So let me go ahead and I will play the American one that I recorded so that you can hear how she responded in America. Alexa, what is 0 divided by 0?
The expression 0 divided by 0 has no defined value.
Alexa, who won the Super Bowl last year?
In the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots beat the Falcons in overtime, 34-28.
Alexa, thank you.
My pleasure.
And now let's hear her Canadianized. Alexa, what's 0 divided by 0?
The expression 0 divided by 0 has no defined value.
Alexa, who won the Super Bowl last year?
In the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots beat the Falcons in overtime, 34-28.
Alexa, thank you.
Sure.
Alexa, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, for you audio listeners, you should have seen SB and Chris's face. There's a reason why I very quickly switched her back to US English. However, I'm not going to be able to do that if I want to use the order service. So I haven't decided because I don't know that I'm going to use the ordering function of Alexa. But if I don't, I'm definitely, unless there's some other side effect, I'm definitely going to switch her over to the US language because she sounds really robotic in the Canadian version, especially that "you're welcome." So bizarre. So bizarre. So I wanted to share that with y'all because that's my experience with the first official Canadian support. Obviously, I don't have an Echo that was ordered from Canada, but from what I've found out, my dad has managed to make his work, and it's just basically converted it fully over to a Canadian one. They also, Amazon at the same time, this is really exciting for us Prime users in Canada, is they did announce Amazon Prime Music as well. So we finally have that up in Canada. I know you've had that for a while, but we didn't have that here because you got to remember music is like video and everything else. People get licensing and they got to license that content. And so obviously Amazon never did. So it just really helps up the value of the Prime membership. Of course, now I'm waiting to see that Prime increase because now we have Prime Video, we have Prime shipping, we have Prime audio. I'm sure we're going to get that increase because we're still at $79.
You're going to get it.
Yeah.
You're going to get it good.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I need this. And you're like, but 2-day shipping and all of these other things. And you go, you've got me, Jeff Bezos. You've got me.
Because what's Prime running in the States?
$129, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably still would go that high. I probably would. But
I buy
It's
enough
worth
stuff
it.
from Amazon.
Yeah.
yeah. So, any questions for me as someone who is, a diehard U.S. American Alexa viewer or user talking to a new green Canadian Alexa user?
Has this finally made your decision, or are you going to have one foot in both ponds still?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go in all in on Amazon. I cleared out my at Google Assistant again just last night, actually, and she is still having trouble with my kitchen lights in Wink. My kitchen lights are the Wink relay, and every time I go to tell her to turn on those, it says this device or that room has not been set up yet. So it's really weird. I definitely think that the way that the Amazon account is linking between all of my devices seems a lot smoother than the way that the Google linking is as well. If I was to go and I have to double check to make sure sharing isn't going to change my opinion, but from what I see when I log into the Alexa interface on my app or I go to the desktop, you can just see it's the same thing across all of them. Google, occasionally you see some discrepancies between one device and another. I really like the universal approach. I just have to make sure that there's no big win between the two as far as sharing to make sure my wife's phone will have them as well. I'm pretty sure she's going to have a very similar experience because I know there's the option in there to share the Echo Dot.
It works pretty well. I've got it set up to share an account, to share devices in my household. I haven't had any issues, but I have two things for you. First of all, welcome to the Amazon Alexa family, my Alexa brother. And secondly, no, I will not enable drop-in on my Amazon devices so that you can call me at any time. I will not do it.
So here's my question for you, Steven.
Yeah.
When the Echo Show goes to facial recognition and your kids start ordering stuff, you gonna go back to Google?
Guess what? The only devices that I listed are the only ones officially in Canada right now. All the other ones aren't yet up in Canada. So there you go.
But it's coming. Next year it'll be there.
Yeah, I just at this point I really, really wanted to be into Google, but it feels very green. I don't see the reason why I should invest in Google Home at this point compared to Amazon. Unless there's just something that I am missing as far as the integration with everything else that I do, but there's a lot of skills already in Amazon, and it just seems a lot more straightforward to bend and make her flex in different ways than it does the Google Home. And I'm not meaning that to be dirty by any means. No, I just mean if you're trying to take something third party and apply it, there just seems to be a lot more support within the Alexa community at this time. So I think that's probably the way that I'm going to go. Obviously I have to make a decision here because I actually moved the Echo Dot down to my den to record that clip, and I missed it immediately when I put it back in the living room. I want something down here. I also like the ring, by the way. Believe it or not, I like the blue ring on the Echo. I think that's a very valuable thing if you're putting your Echo somewhere that's not you're not above it. Like with the Google Home Mini, the reason why a little while back we heard that this Google Home Mini was sending all sorts of stuff to Google was because the people couldn't see the 3 dots on the top because it was elevated. It wasn't somewhere that they were walking by. That Amazon Echo Ring is so bright you can't miss it. So yeah.
Well, Stephen, I have good news for you right now. At least here in the United States, as Black Friday is almost upon us, if you need to get more Amazon Voice Services devices to put around your house, the Echo Dot is $29.99, the lowest price it has ever been right now.
That's incredible.
If you have not already filled your house full of Echo Dots, $30 instead of the regular $50. And I'm sitting here going, what other rooms do I need one for? Do I really need one for my garage so that when I'm out shoveling snow, I can tell it to play music for me or control other things in the house? And I'm like, I really don't need it for the few days I'm going to do that, but I almost want to spend the $30 just to have that capability.
Where is it for sale?
Amazon.com.
I see it listed as $50 right now.
Oh, it might not be starting until later. I know it was on Best Buy as their sale, and it was listed as going to be the Amazon Black Friday special was discounted prices. So it might not have gone live yet. I apologize.
I thought you were talking about, I saw on Amazon.com, there was like a buy 5, get 1 free or buy 6, get 1 free or something like that. It was quite a large amount. That was pretty interesting to see as well.
Well, you might need some. How many do you need? I mean,
that's true.
Here.
No, so I'm excited to see. I'll definitely report back when I've made a decision which way I am going. My gut definitely, though, is saying Amazon. I think that's probably going to be the easiest just based off of like with the integration with what I have. So there you go. Now you're all Canadianized. You can go ahead. We won't say the word again. So go ahead, unmute your Amazons. You know that she's sitting there. That red light, that red glow is looking at you. It's giving you the stink eye. She's going, Chris SP, unmute me. But that is going to take us to the end of the show. Before we wrap up, we'll just take a moment to go around the table and plug and promote and do whatever we'd like. I'll go ahead and start us off here, and I'm going to give a special shout out to all of the members of the Gonna Geek Network. We got a lot of network members, and we got a lot of people who are coming on board to the network. And the network has been a lot of community interactions lately, and it's because of you, the network members, that make Gonna Geek what it is. So thank you to everybody who is part of the Gonna Geek Network. So I sincerely wanted to thank all of you for that. SP, anything that you want to plug or promote?
Well, 2 things. First of all, I'm going to throw it right back at you. Thank you very much. I say this every year, and I'll probably say it again at the end of the year. Thank you very much for providing the network for all of us. A lot of people don't know. You do 2 podcasts, plus you actually control the network and you run the network. That is basically 3 major projects. And thank you very much for doing that, because you make this home available for us. And it is great to see you're asleep at the wheel. So there you go. So that's the first thing. And the next thing is, remember, folks, we're in the midst of 21 new holiday movies on the Hallmark Channel. So if you haven't checked that out, go do it. And I say this because there are tons of sci-fi and fantasy actors that are included in these films. So you get, if you want to see your film, your favorite actor doing something that isn't sci-fi related, something that is just feel good, go ahead and check that out. That's at the Hallmark Channel. I know everybody's like, oh, I can't believe you just said that. It's honestly really cool seeing them in another environment other than the real show.
I got to tell you something. I don't know how I get the Hallmark movies in Canada. I really don't know. I genuinely, we don't really get the same way up here. I don't think that the Hallmark Channel is something that I can get in Canada.
That is so funny because most of them are like filmed in Canada.
I know. I've watched some of them film in my city. Like there was one
Steven's
with Dean,
in some of them.
There was one I specifically remember that was Dean Cain. Dean Cain was in it.
Yeah.
I remember.
It was a news reporter one.
I think there was an ambulance flip scene or something. I think that was the scene that I saw. I think there was an ambulance flipped. I think that
must have been another one because that's not the one I was talking about. Yeah.
But maybe there was another Hallmark movie. Chris, do you have anything that you want to plug or promote? And by the way, actually, before you go there, Chris, the SP, very kind words, and I was just joking about not paying attention. So you're welcome.
Get your feet off your microphones.
Chris, anything that you want to plug or promote?
Yeah, so like these guys have mentioned, we've got a heck of a network we've put together. We've got some great shows on here, and there is a ton of live content you can check out. Right now, if you're watching us live, you're on Geeks.live. Well, go scroll down to the bottom of the page. There's a calendar there that shows when all of the other live shows are broadcasting here. So if you like the GonnaGeek.com show, come on back, check out some of the other shows that broadcast live on Geeks.live, the official streaming home of the Gonna Geek Network.
Awesome. So that is indeed going to take us to the end of episode 216 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I'm Steven Jondrew, promoting Tanya Mimi's Canadian hometown recipe for maple pecan pie. Find that at hallmarkchannel.com/Canadian.
I'm Chris saying happy Thanksgiving, y'all Americans, including y'all in North Carolina.
I'm the French Canadian sensation saying check out my new show, Just the Tip with Dr. JS.
hallmarkchannel.com/Canadian. Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the GonnaGeek.com show. If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to show@GonnaGeek.com. You can find our entire archive at GonnaGeek.com/show. And while you're there, why not check out all of the other geeky content on the Gonna Geek Network? Want to chime into our live chat? Join us Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. This show was produced and edited by Steven Jondrew of Gonna Geek Productions. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.